everyone, welcome to a mostly one take Wednesday, and today I thought I would talk about how I am 31 years old and just really learning how to cook for the first time. I started my cooking journey maybe a year or a year and a half ago, and so far it has been extremely rewarding and a blast. And I thought that maybe if you are in the same boat, if you never really developed a ton of cooking skills, or you're a little bit older than is the usual to be learning how to cook, I thought I'd share this just so you can know that you're not alone, that's totally okay, and it is never too late to learn. So first, maybe I'll explain how I got here, how I never really picked up any kind of cooking knowledge or practice. So growing up, I was a 90s kid, and my parents were kind of like the quintessential archetypal 90s parents when it came to meals. So that means that we ate a ton of boxed food, a ton of canned food, and a ton of instant food. So SpaghettiOs, Chef Boyardee, so much Hamburger Helper, Hungry Man's, Kids Cuisine, and etc. And I want to be really clear, I have no ill will about this. I am not mad at my parents. I totally get it. I've felt like, for the most part, I've always gotten it. They were both working full-time, and they worked opposite shifts for most of my childhood. So my mom would work nights and my dad would work days, and they would only really see each other in passing when they were handing me off to the other one. And that's what they had to do because they had to have somebody to watch me, and that was the only way to make that happen at the time. So how are they going to cook any kind of elaborate, fresh, yummy meal when they are essentially single parenting and working full time? So I always kind of understood that, but now that I have kids, I understand it even more times 1,000%. So I get it. That is just fine. Also, I'll be honest, when I was a kiddo, I thought that food really slapped. Kids' cuisine was kind of the best. But basically, the result of that was that my palate never really advanced beyond those kinds of dishes. That is what I became accustomed to. And I'm curious, if you grew up in the 90s, was that your experience? Because that's what it seemed to be for the kiddos, the people in my age group, in my neighborhood. But I was always kind of wondering if that was typical or normal for other 90s people. Did you eat a lot of instant boxed food? Like, even when we got frozen food, like frozen veggies, I thought were fresh because we ate a lot of canned green beans. But again, that's what I knew, so I didn't have anything to compare it to. But anyway, then when I became an adult, my tastes kind of broadened and expanded. I started experiencing fresher, tastier things. I would go to restaurants. I would have all different kinds of foods. I had some fine dining experiences, and I kind of I feel like my likes and interests when it came to eating leveled up a bit. Unfortunately, when it came to cooking those recipes, I had no knowledge or practice for how to cook, because again, I never really saw my parents in the kitchen using skills, using techniques, or things like that, because you're mostly just popping things in the microwave, oven, etc. And so when I would try to cook those things, I became really intimidated, and it was never really successful. I would look at the recipes, they would be really long, so much text, so much reading, it would take so much time. I felt like you had to be really precise and perfect when it came to the processes and the ingredients and measurements, and my little ADHD neurodivergent brain did not like that. That following a really long, precise recipe felt tedious. It made me flustered. It was not fun. It was too many moving parts. I just didn't enjoy it. Also, I felt like cooking made so many dishes, and it took so long. Every time I cooked a dish that was like tasty and fresh, it felt like it was taking an hour and a half, 2 hours. It probably wasn't, because I perceived time in a weird way. It was probably only actually taking like 40 or 45 minutes, but still. But then I would have to do the dishes after, and it just took forever. It didn't feel worth it, so I didn't really cook. But then I realized that I had to make a change when we had kids, because new things became really important to me. And that was cooking food that was nutrient dense, tasty, and affordable. So the nutrient dense part is ever since I had kids, my fitness journey has been really important to me because I lost so much fitness and I became so deconditioned and weak during pregnancy because I was really sick and sedentary during that time. And my body started to hurt. Just existing became really uncomfortable and painful. And not only just during pregnancy, but after, because I became so weak and I got injured a lot more. So I knew that getting back into fitness postpartum was going to be really important to me, and so far it has been a really good experience for my physical and mental health. But because I've been getting more into fitness, I've been tracking my macros kind of loosely. I've been paying much more attention to protein so I can make some gains, and fiber so I can stay regular, and super bonus if my food has awesome vitamins and minerals and things like that. So nutrient dense, really important to me. Tasty, is always good. So the only way to get that without cooking was through ordering food. But ordering is so expensive now. When Gray and I order food to the house, I don't know about you, but it's usually like $60 or $70, and that is just absolutely not sustainable. And then my brain went down to when we start ordering for the kids, when we start ordering for 4 people, that's going to be like $150 per meal. That is not going to fly. So I knew that if I wanted to cook some foods that had the nutrients that I wanted, that tasted good, and that we could afford, I was gonna have to learn to cook because, again, the things that I was cooking at home were boxed macaroni and cheese or frozen pizza. That doesn't have a ton of protein or fiber. And then another thing that I could do is I could put like a piece of like pre-breaded, pre-pankoed and seasoned or marinated chicken from like Target on a baking sheet next to a veggie, and I could pop that in the oven, and that definitely has some protein and some vitamins and minerals, and it is affordable, but that's really all I could do, and it just wasn't that tasty, and doing it over and over again got really old. So I was like, okay, something has to change. I need to learn how to cook so I can have these 3 things that are important to me all at once. So what has been the game changer for me basically has been learning to cook through TikTok. The reason that works for me is because it aligns really well with my neurodivergency, because every recipe on TikTok is like under a minute and it's super visual, which helps me remember, it helps me stay engaged. And what I really like is the folks, at least on my feed in cooking videos, they don't really measure, which has been super liberating and empowering. They just do like a squeeze of sauce, a dash of something, a spice, a spoonful of whatever, and that has been excellent. So I have totally thrown measuring for the most part out the window. I eyeball things, I guess more, and that has made the experience a lot more low pressure, enjoyable. It makes way less dishes. It is just so good. So if you don't like measuring, if that part feels unfun, intimidating, annoying, tedious, whatever to you, maybe experiment with just not measuring, because it has been great for me. Things almost always still taste awesome. And then on that kind of same precision subject, I also have it's not been such a big deal to me if a recipe calls for a spice or a sauce or something and I don't have it. I'm just like, whatever, that's okay, and I still make it, and guess what? It's almost always still bomb. Or I will try maybe to make a substitution. I'll be like, the recipe wants this, but I have this, and they kind of taste the same, and I'll go for it, and it's great. So basically, just my advice in this regard is relax, cook a little sloppier. As long as you're not baking, baking's different. You do have to be a bit more by the book when it comes to baking, but cooking, you can really just go for it, and it is totally okay. Another thing that's really helped me is getting more into cooking Asian food. I feel like for new cooks, there are many Asian recipes that are so freaking fracking flavor packed, like chili flakes, peanut sauce, a ton of salty, umami, sweet, sour things, like so much flavor and a ton of fresh ingredients that only take like 15 or 20 minutes. It's really fresh, yummy, healthy, and worth it. Like, I always feel like those meals are so satisfying and wonderful. I watch this person on TikTok named Cassie, and she cooks a lot of really excellent things. My favorite thing that I've made by her is this really yummy tomato egg rice dish. I'll put a picture of it up. It's been excellent. Other things that I have made on my cooking journey include this cucumber peanut sauce chili flake bowl, this chickpea curry. I poached an egg and put it on some pesto toast, lentil carrot wraps, lots of grain bowls, smoothie bowls, some fancy toast, and more. And I put all of this on Insta if you want to see. And then I rate everything on scales of how cheap it was, how easy it was to cook, and how tasty it was. So if you want to look at my really not advanced cooking, you can go to Instagram if you can. But anyway, that leads me to some questions I have for you. What is your relationship with cooking like? When did you learn how to cook? Was it easy? Was it hard for you? And do you have any hacks for how to make cooking easier and more enjoyable, or any recipes that you want me to try out? Because I really like trying new flavors and new kinds of cooking. But again, remember, if the dish takes too long to cook, or it's really important to be precise or perfect, it's probably not going to be a good match for me. Oh, but another great thing that I really like about cooking is I can make things in bulk, which is really excellent for my lifestyle, because then I can put a lot of it in the freezer, and that saves a lot of time, because all I have to do later is, dethaw it and not cook. Well, I dethaw it and then it's already cooked, which is excellent, and it helps my brain, because when I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, what do I eat right now? I'm like, oh, I already have some things that I know that I like made and in the freezer. So that's been another pro of cooking for myself. Yeah, okay, anyway. Yep, I think that's all. Feel free to answer my questions in the comments. This has been a lot of fun. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye. Wow, you made it to the end. Here is the obligatory part where I ask you to follow me on other social media platforms, because it profoundly affects my self-worth. Just kidding, it doesn't really. But, please follow me anyway, because that would be fun, and I mean fun for my self-esteem. Haha, no, not actually. I am truthfully totally indifferent, and if no one follows me, I'm not gonna cry into a pillow all afternoon. Yeah. I did that last Wednesday, so I think it's out of my system now.